So what is freedom tech? What is freedom tech? When I say the word freedom tech, things come to mind like privacy, cryptocurrencies like Monero XMR, GrapheneOS. GrapheneOS is the more open source version of Android operating system for smartphones. Decentralized technologies like the Fediverse and so on and so forth. Smart contracts with like Ethereum and Bitcoin Cash, mesh networks, so on and so forth. Freedom tech is important and valid. Monero is a cryptocurrency that has privacy by default. GrapheneOS can have apps from the Android store or elsewhere. There are some compatibility issues sometimes with certain Android apps with Graphene due to, Google Play services and whatnot. Running large language models locally is definitely a freedom technology in many ways. People have been buying up Mac Studios that have 128 gigabytes or 512 gigabytes of shared RAM and then running large language models on those Mac Studios or Mac Minis. Of course, one can go with NVIDIA graphics cards, stacking two 24 gigabyte consumer cards. There's ways, I believe, to pool the memory to the best of my knowledge. So learn about Monero XMR. The Fediverse is social media decentralized. There's also cryptocurrency projects like Arweave and Filecoin. Freedom tech will likely become increasingly important as time progresses. Privacy matters and privacy promotes freedom. There are advantages to the walled gardens of popular technology. For many, it's about striking a balance between freedom tech and convenience. Sometimes freedom tech can be less convenient. It is a trade-off. But privacy matters, and as artificial intelligence becomes increasingly ubiquitous, freedom tech will probably increasingly matter. Self-driving cars may be able to save lives, but if we're constantly being surveilled and have less and less control, that can be problematic. So therefore, freedom tech does matter. Analog technologies can be a hedge. Using services and electronics that are not hooked up into the cloud can be a hedge. So promote freedom tech. Help increase and promote freedom and personal responsibility. We need freedom tech, share ideas about freedom tech, write articles about freedom tech, create videos about freedom tech, create tutorials about freedom tech, create websites about freedom tech, share the idea of freedom tech. It's an idea worth sharing. Definitely an idea worth sharing and thinking about and pondering. People talk about privacy with respect to cryptocurrencies, talk about privacy matters, and, Bitcoin is just pseudonymous. As soon as somebody knows a Bitcoin address, they can sort of trace all the other transactions related to it. Monero is the one that is private by default. There may be some others, but Monero is definitely sort of, to my knowledge, the top dog with regards to being a private by default cryptocurrency. When people talk about cryptocurrencies, they sometimes talk about privacy. And it almost seems like sometimes, not all the time, that they go out of their way not to mention Monero for whatever reason. Maybe they're biased. Maybe they are having other motivations. The more we can decentralize technologies, then I think the more we can decentralize power. And having power structures decentralized and not too concentrated is quite important. So in one sense, decentralizing capital markets may help to create more freedom. There are advantages to having centralized capital allocators in certain respects as in ultra wealthy individuals, as far as mega projects being able to be done more efficiently. But perhaps there's a way to crowdfund things on a more mass scale that respects privacy and gets great things and big things done without centralizing power too much, economic power, that is, if you heard what I'm saying. So look into freedom tech, learn about freedom tech, share the idea of freedom tech, and let's embrace and promote freedom tech.